someone you know, a cancer survivor, or managing a cancer diagnosis? Today's speaker will tell us about her firsthand experiences around her own diagnosis. Hello, and thank you for joining today's session in the Connecting Our Community Speaker Series. The goal of this series, as the name indicates, is to connect the special needs community with valuable resources. The sessions are offered on the fourth Wednesday of every month from 11:45 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. My name is Christine Brookins, and for those who are familiar with me, you may already know that I am both a parent and a professional dedicated to serving the disability community. Each month, we speak with experts in fields relevant to this community. Last month, we spoke with Oasis Senior Advisors, and I am always open to suggestions for additional resources and topics about which you would like to learn. But today, we are speaking with Karen Scuilli, founder and executive director of Face2Face Healing. Karen is a registered nurse who spent 36 years as a practicing nurse, case manager, and clinical consultant. She developed the case management program at Washington Hospital and later moved to Highmark as a national case manager. She advanced to being clinical consultant for large corporate accounts, establishing plan of care solutions that improved large employer health care. Most recently, Karen utilized her skill set as a hospice case manager. In addition to her clinical and administrative experience, Karen is a survivor, having gone through treatment for head and neck cancer, allowing her to understand from personal experience the needs of individuals diagnosed with the life-changing disease. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am very appreciative and honored to actually be here today.
Well, I'm honored that you joined us. So, as a survivor, I am sure that your personal story has an impact on all that we will discuss today. And I know that we can't possibly do a deep dive on every detail, but can you give us a brief summary?
Sure. After experiencing pain, facial palsy on the right side of my face, I sought out many doctors and trying to figure out what was causing the pain and the palsy. I, of course, did not think it was anything. I would more thought it was more neurological, and being a nurse, I just thought because the pain was just so pronounced that it was just something neurological to be fixed. So I went down that path. Finally, got to the right physician. It was Dr. Barry Shaken. He actually is at Shayside Hospital, and he's an ENT. He diagnosed me with parotid gland cancer, and that was in May of 2012. So it took like about 9 months because it started in August. Took about 9 months to actually get a diagnosis. So in that time frame, I had excruciating pain, and I tried many different treatment modalities for pain relief, and nothing actually helped. So it was a long 9 months, but I'm very glad that finally get the diagnosis. And it was very interesting when he called me, because most physicians don't call at night, but he called me at 6 p.m. That evening, and it was actually on the May the 16th, and tell me I have good news and bad news, because the main thing I asked him is just please just tell me tell me what it is. And so the conversation went basically, which one do you want to hear first? And I said, I've been dealing with this so long, just give it all to me. So he was concerned about me being by myself at home. So did call me back an hour later to make sure I did have someone there for support. So that was very kind. He's very compassionate, loved him. He's now retired, unfortunately, but got the diagnosis of parotid gland cancer, and then basically was starting treatment. So after several surgeries to remove the tumor, and then also everything had invaded, and also having reconstructive surgeries, having chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and just dealing with all of the side effects from everything, I was just left physically, emotionally, and spiritually just, broken and unable to adapt to my now altered self-image.
That is, first of all, amazing that you've gone through all of that, and I'm sure that must have stopped you in your tracks. I'm glad that we are able to have this conversation on the other side of this with you as a survivor. But, as we talk about these things, first of all, let me take a step back. until you and I met, I had never heard of parotid gland cancer. I didn't even know. So tell us, what is parotid gland cancer?
The parotid gland actually is your salivary gland in your cheek. So it's what produces saliva. So as you can imagine, not having a salivary gland does decrease my saliva. So I'm usually drinking water, chewing gum, those type of things. And I'm not the only one, but it's less than 1% of the population. So, can't win the lottery, but I could get parotid gland cancer. So, and you have to like add humor to this because it's as difficult as it was, I was trying to be resilient for my son. So I tried to make sure that I was upbeat and positive for him. Not saying I didn't have bad moments because I did, but yes, but went through many changes. Uh, you know, I lost my hearing in my right ear. I lost my taste from the treatments. I distanced myself from supportive friends, family, and even my church because I was really struggling with everything that was going on. So yeah, it was more like, why did this happen to me? How do I move forward? Um, you know, and I think this experience gave me a really unique perspective in regards to m- more so with cancer patients. I treated cancer patients previously, but having cancer and going through the treatment gives you a different outlook or a different view on things, and you take a little bit more notice into and being more compassionate and looking at things to actually to help cancer patients. So I just think that going through this, and being a case manager previously and a nurse, I was able to navigate that medical maze. But oftentimes, patients don't have that person to actually help them with that. So that makes them feel. I mean, I felt alone and isolated, and trying to navigate this for myself. And
Well,
I
where
was
did
struggling.
you turn? Like when you had all of this going on and you were now the patient, where did you turn and what did you find to help support you?
That's a very interesting question. I turned to my doctors asking them where they send their patients. They didn't know. Um, they would, tempted to send me to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or, a social worker, those type of things. And I think the hardest thing for me was I was going everywhere and I was still trying to comprehend everything that happened and trying to deal with, moving forward with a different face. And so I would go to counseling and I would go to, psychiatrists, and they would ask you, tell me what you're thinking. Like, I didn't know what I was thinking. I still couldn't wrap my head around the fact this all happened. And now I'm forever changed. And so how do I deal with that? So I was asking them for like suggestions or a roadmap or nothing. They had nothing. So that's kind of where I was left struggling. And I just kept thinking, if it's me dealing with this, there has to be more than just me. And so that's kind of like where I started and what I found. And that's kind of why I started face to face healing, because I knew that it hadn't couldn't just be me because there were other cancer patients dealing with head and neck cancer. So that's kind of like where I started. That was kind of what I knew. So, and then what could identify with because I went through it and I know
Right.
how grueling it was. Yeah.
Well, and that was a new thing for you. You had always been dealing with it as a nurse on the other side of things, and now you were one of the patients. So, it sounds like you got referrals, but you didn't find much help. And how did that help you in developing face to face? What did you hope to do through face to face healing?
I think, well, when I was watching TV, because I was home for the first year and a half, I kind of like stayed to myself and was trying to navigate and do things with my son. And I just kept thinking, if I had a place to go to talk to people, I wanted to create awareness for individuals like myself that had cancer, but also had facial or bodily disfigurement. Now, I've kind of changed the term of that to altered self image because a lot of people don't like the word disfigurement. They think it's a negative connotation.
Sure.
So I try to make sure that I'm referring and being, sensitive to everybody. But even as a trained medical professional, I mean, your experience of cancer, you don't really or any catastrophic event, it's very different firsthand. And so even though the things I thought I knew, taking care of patients, were totally different. And then being a small population of cancer with or facial cancer or head and neck cancer, um, really limited things. And when you look at cancer like breast cancer, there's all kinds of research out there and on funding and everything for that, or other larger cancers that, uh, cause issues with other patients, like lung cancer or those type of things. So there's all kinds of research out there and there's all kinds of, support for them. But for me, it was like I was starting from scratch. So I had reached out to the United Kingdom and there was a support group and it was called, Let's Face It. And Christine Pip was the executive director. And so I reached out to her and was asking her, did she know anything in the United States? And she did not. So that was very frustrating for me. I was originally going to do a sister company to Let's Face It, but I knew early on that it wasn't just about facial disfigurement. It was
Right.
more about facial bodily, anything with an altered self-image. I mean, and when you look at that, that can include someone with, a stroke or Bell's palsy. I mean, a lot of people think I had a stroke because of the way I look. So anything that causes that altered self-image. I mean, sometimes, there's other issues as well. You could have a neuroma. I mean, there's so many different things that can cause an altered self-image. But
And can you share, I mean, you're telling us so much of your personal story now and the things that you have found, but what really compelled you to share that story?
I just felt that it's basically I was struggling myself and I kept thinking, what can I do to move forward? And I found that and I've always loved helping other people, being a nurse. That's why I became a nurse. And so I kind of was out of that. I wasn't doing that. And that was my social network. Those are my, the nurses were my friends. And so when I took myself out of that, I was like struggling. And I was trying to rebuild, that life puzzle that we so carefully, put together. I was 47 when this occurred. So I was working full time. I had a child, a single mother and doing all those things. I was also going to school, finishing my, master's in business and master's in nursing. And when this happened, it was like my life fell apart. So that puzzle that I so carefully orchestrated is like it blew up. And so I found that trying to put those pieces back together, I was trying to find something to fill those voids, by, leaning back into my poetry and doing some poetry, which I did write a poem called "What Do You See When You Look at Me," and I'm happy to share that with you. But those type of things, and looking at okay, so I can't do this, so what can I do? So I was looking at doing those type of things, and then when I was talking to my doctors, Dr. Patricia had said to me that, I think maybe you should start a support group. And I'm like, I am in no place to start a support group. I need all the help. And he goes, I really think this is going to be good for you. So then that's when I started researching and looking into, starting something. And I found that I was not the only one, and at that time, there was no other support groups in the area of Pittsburgh. And that's the thing too, is like, I find in Pittsburgh, there has to be something, but
Right.
there was and it was so baffling to me, like, why in Pittsburgh, when you have all these cancer treatment centers, that there was nothing in, Pittsburgh to help individuals like myself. So I was a previous case manager. I found a bottleneck in the system. So I thought, you know what? If there was not something there, I guess I have to create it. So then I thought, I'm now going to be the face of the organization. And I felt compelled to share my story because I knew that if I could do it, if I could move forward and I could share my story, that other people could see that I am resilient, I'm moving forward, and that would be the roadmap for them to like move forward, and I would help them. And then I found that helping others has been the secret to my healing. So that's
Absolutely.
why I continue to do it, and I think when you have something like that, you could do two things. You could, you know, not do anything and just, let whatever happens, or you could move forward, trudge ahead. And my grandma used to say, pull up the bootstraps and keep on trudging. So that's what I did. That's what I knew. It wasn't easy. There were days where I cried a lot and I was depressed in my room, but I then my son said to me one day, Mama, what if something happens to you? What's gonna, what am I gonna do? And that was the kick in the pants I really needed, because I was just like, okay, well, I can't let him see this is getting me down. I need to show him that no matter what happens in life, you can move forward. So that was, he was my why. And I think you have
Well,
to
that
find
was
your
going to be
why.
my question, but I think it's very evident that, why did you feel the need to pick up your bootstraps and keep on moving? It sounds like you had that down pat.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who has children, I mean, no matter what happens to you, and you may have surgery, you may be sick, but who do you take care of first? Do you take care of yourself? No.
No,
You take care of everyone else around you.
correct.
And I think, and that it kind of slowed me down to like know that I now have to do self-care. Like, I need to make sure I'm taking care of myself, because if we don't take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be there to take care of the other ones we love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So true.
Yeah.
So as you're doing this, I mentioned before, I'm glad that we're talking to you on the other side of this as a survivor, and clearly needing to care for your son meant you needed to care for yourself. But now that you've established face-to-face healing, what do you want to accomplish through face-to-face for other people? What are you trying to do for others that maybe couldn't be done for you?
We now incorporated different services. So we have case management, which I'm familiar with because I did that. And it's helping people navigate. It's not just the patient, it's the caregiver. So when something happens that's catastrophic, it's a ripple effect. So it happens to the individual, but also the whole network around that surrounds them, their support. And so it's helping them navigate through that. So that's one thing I try to do. It's also running counseling, because, I mean, Adriana is also a cancer survivor. She provides counseling, and she actually helped me to get myself back out there, and realize that, we're more than our face, we're more than our scars. And that it's really about the person underneath. And that goes for anybody with any difference you may have, whether it's from intellectual disability, whether it's, mental disability, physical disability, it doesn't really matter. But you are more than, your exterior, of who you are. You are a person. And I think that's the thing I try to look at. And I look at people differently. And I know that we've talked about this, but someone like me, I'm okay sharing my story. But if someone is it's new to this and that have a difference, and you say to them, and because everyone feels entitled now, they can ask people questions and they should supposed to answer everything, and share their whole story. And some people don't feel comfortable doing that. So, I think it's better to say you must have an interesting story. Do you care to share? And if they say yes, fine. But if they don't, don't feel, put out by that, because they're just not comfortable sharing their story. But
Right.
I think that's a better way to ask them, as opposed to, automatically assuming that they can share, they can tell you everything that's going on. I have clients that are not willing, or individuals that are not willing to share their story. There's something that might be new, and it's very traumatic. I have people that wear sunglasses and floppy hats, and when someone gets a glance, they may say, "What happened to your face?" Well, that's not okay to ask.
No,
You know what I
no one
mean?
else is entitled to your story, right?
Yes,
And I
and so
think you just offered us a really important tip, though, how to have the conversation or start the conversation with someone if they are willing to share.
yeah.
Eh,
Well, I mean, I when this happened to me, I had people staring at me like I was a monster. I had people taking the, hands of their children and walking across the street. And then, those type of things. And I was mortified. I just kept thinking, oh my God, like, I don't want to cause anyone any, distress. And I want to make sure that, because I would smile or different things and people would not smile back or they would not look at me in the eye. So those were things that were hard for me. As time went on, I realized psychologically, sorry, that your brain is looking for that symmetry. And it's not necessarily you're not staring at me. You're basically it's almost like the where's Waldo or what's wrong with this picture in their face. So like when someone does that, they stop and you think they're, automatically assume they're staring. And so I think it's creating that awareness so people can have a better understanding that this is what a person's looking for and this is why they're maybe staring at you and not to be offended. So the other, just say, hey, yes, I know I look a little bit differently, but this is why. So, I mean, it starts a conversation if people are open to having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, people are not. I've been in places where I've not even been addressed, like if I have someone with me, they're talking to that person as opposed to me because they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to deal with me. And you know what? That's okay. But I found to like surround myself, and I think everyone does, but surround yourself with the people that are supporting you and caring for you and lifting you
Absolutely.
up than people that are being negative. So if you're in a negative space, get out of that space. I mean, we like to be able to create that safe space for people to talk, give you support, help you through this. And we just love to be able to help you. So I think that's the thing is, we want to make sure that you're not struggling like I did. I don't want that for anybody. I don't want anyone to feel alone. I don't want anyone to feel that, there's no one like you. And there is no normal, by the way. I hate to break anyone's bubble, but there is no normal.
That's so
Um,
true.
and we all are created differently. So we're all unique. We're created differently. We have different gifts. And my gift is being able to share, being compassionate and caring and helping people through what they're going through. So.
And I think that's so huge. One of the things you mentioned, I heard you talk about going out and not wanting to distress someone else. But hey, what about you? Right? When you're the person, what about your own distress that you're feeling? And it sounds like through face to face, you're able to help others to maybe bring that down a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, like going out in groups of people like you know what I mean? Going out in groups and having that camaraderie with one another, and you don't really. And I found that you really don't think about what other people are doing because you have your group. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think, there's different aspects. Like some people have a difficult time eating, in public because like everything is about eating or having coffee. So when you're getting out in together, right? So a lot of those cannot do that. So how do you make it more natural, not normal, but natural or easier for that individual to be a part of that? So it's looking at those type of things. So eating, drinking, talking. Some people are talk softer. Like for example, I had my mouth wired shut for like 6.5 weeks.
Wow.
I had,
Okay.
yeah. I was not able to eat, so I lost a bunch of weight. And it's not the best diet I would recommend, but it
No.
did work. But I was doing smoothies and stuff like that. So, but my mouth is where I shut. I had to really practice on enunciating my words and using my speech. And I still do that. Like if I am tired, I start talking and my words kind of like stir together. So I need to make sure that I'm really diligent and really making sure my pronunciation is good. Otherwise, I get people can't understand what I'm saying. So, but I had to teach
But
myself.
I think there's both sides of that, right? You're entitled to get tired. But if I'm having a conversation with you, I have to hold up my end of the deal. I have to listen. So I think that's twofold. And it sounds like you help to teach people that there are two sides in those equations.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that, we all struggle in some way or other. And it's trying to help that individual, like or their cancer patients, whether it's, someone with an altered self-image, helping them through that process. And really move forward. Because when you're stuck in that now, you can't move forward. And so, like Adriana helps, talking about journaling and looking for what you're grateful in for that day. And it may be one, like I was grateful for my son every day. And then I was grateful to be alive. And then it was like, then, as time goes forward, then you're grateful for more things. But like I found so many kind people out there, even though there were people that were not as kind. But I found a majority of people were actually kind and helpful, like nurses and, people in housekeeping and everyone at the hospital, I mean, it was amazing to me the kindness that I received, even going through treatment. And I think, lean into that, lean into people that are kind and trying to help you, and if in that situation, if you know somebody's in that situation, please, reach out to us and we will help you guys through this because you're not alone.
Well,
I think
let's take a
that's
moment, when you're saying people in that situation, you've mentioned, but let's be very clear. Who does face-to-face healing serve?
so we serve all cancer patients, male or female. We don't really focus in on children in the sense of children with cancer because there is children's hospital that takes care of that. So we focus on probably 18 and above.
Okay.
Um, is probably the majority. Now, if we had someone was needing something, we can always touch base, talk, and then I can refer you to other resources if I needed to. So if I can't help you, then I will definitely refer you. Anyone with an altered self-image, and that would be with someone with a physical or physical disability, like facial disfigurement, and it could be with someone who has a artificial arm. But I found that there's a lot of support groups for them as well, and even veterans. I mean, if a veteran doesn't feel comfortable talking to the VA, then please, come in and I will help you because my heart is very and it was interesting that I actually identified with a veteran as the only person that actually helped me when I actually was going through this in my dark room, I should say. So I saw someone in a commercial and he had an AED explosion with facial burns, and then he had an artificial arm. And it just he said to me, this is difficult, and then he was saying the same words that I was actually feeling, and I thought he gets it, he
Right.
understands. So I knew then that I wasn't the only one feeling this. And so there were other people like myself, like burns, car accidents. Sometimes a tire blows up, and someone's face. Someone sets off fireworks and, those type of things. So it doesn't really matter the why. It's if you feel you have an altered self-image and you feel that you can't go out into public, then I want you to contact us because I don't want you feeling alone and there's no one like you. I want you to know that we identify and we're here, we're compassionate, we want to share and help you through this.
And you've mentioned a lot of it, but I think it bears repeating. Let's revisit, what is it that face-to-face healing does for the clients that you serve?
Yes, so we provide case management to help you navigate through the medical maze, the patient and the caregiver.
Okay.
We also have counseling. We have patient care packages that we tailor to the individual. Sometimes it's the caps, or we also have a Bella Fund that we don't do wigs, massage therapy, those type of things that we could provide to that individual. Support groups. We do some financial assistance, but it depends on whether we have funding or not. So right now we do not have funding, but we're hoping to get some. So that's kind of the main things that we do. Adriana does critical incident stress debriefing, and that's usually for healthcare providers, especially dealing with cancer patients. It was really important during COVID because patients were by themselves. They didn't have any support, and it was basically the nursing staff that was actually there taking care of the patients. So she
And I'm
goes
going to
in.
ask you, you've mentioned Adriana a few times, so I want our audience to know who she is and what she does for face-to-face healing.
Adriana is amazing. She is my partner in this, and she does many things. She wears many hats. So she is the vice president of fund development. So she helps us write grants, and helps with getting donations and those type of things. She also she's the lead for our counseling, and we have 4 other people underneath us at part-time that she actually works with to help counsel the patients. And we're looking at getting another full-time individual if we get funding. Um, and she's also a cancer survivor. So, but she's helped me so much to become who I am, and be out there and be the face of face-to-face healing, so to speak. And and we just do a lot of things together. So I couldn't do this without her. So I want to make sure that everyone knows. But yeah, she's amazing. So again, if you're struggling and you need assistance and helping get through this, and you're depressed or angry, I mean, we all have different stages of grief when we're going through this. But we understand that because we're survivors. So just reach out.
That's so important that, you get it, you've lived it, you know it. This isn't foreign to you.
Okay.
And I do know that you've recently been working on an effort through the holidays, and I know that was a big effort. So I just want you to mention what that is so folks get an idea of, where your heart is with all of this.
Absolutely. So we oftentimes do different things other than what the service we actually provide. So one of those things is actually holiday gifts. Adriana comes from a very philanthropic family, so this is something that she's always felt compelled to do. But we do holiday gifts for the cancer patients. Many patients go through financial toxicity, and from the treatment, transportation, all those different things that are going on, paying the copays. And because we're survivors, we understand that. And if I didn't have angels to help me and give me money, would not have been able to provide Christmas for my son. So we provide holiday gifts. We get donations. From David, also from many supporters. The Pittsburgh North Regional Chamber of Commerce also provided us gifts through the Angel Tree, which was amazing. So we had clothes, we had gifts, toys, that type of thing for the patients. We try to do gift cards, and then also for their children. So that was really, really nice that we were able to do that, and we were very excited to be able to, serve like, almost 200 people. So it was really, amazing
And I'm
doing
just
that.
going to point out, you've mentioned it to me, but I think it brings it home why it's so important to provide a nice Christmas for these families.
Yes, thank you for saying that, Christine. Oftentimes, a lot of these patients are at the end of their life, and it's very terminal. So this may be the last Christmas they actually have to share with their family. So it's very important for us to be able to provide that Christmas. I know I was stage 4, and mine was very terminal, and I didn't know if I was going to have a next Christmas. So looking at those type of things, I'm just trying to make sure, we're looking at things from not only our perspective, but looking at things from their perspective. And we're really excited because we're going to start doing some things, for the patients, but also the caregivers. We're looking at doing different support groups for the caregivers as well. We're looking at, bringing the patients in and seeing like what, and having them on a conversation of, as we move forward, of what we can, do different, what we can do better. So we're really excited about, moving forward in 2024 and then the year, and doing different things. And actually in 2024 will be our 10th year reunion of face-to-face healing. So I'm very excited
Wow,
about that. Yeah, there's going to be something coming. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, but there's going to be something for a celebration. So
that's awesome. Oh, hopefully I can be a part of that. And I
yeah,
do
so
think this is an appropriate time. I want to share your contact information. So I'm trying to share the screen and make sure that I get this right. Hopefully everyone is seeing the screen. So if you yourself or somebody that is managing a cancer diagnosis or a condition resulting in an altered self-image, and you need some help, or you just want to know what's out there, you can reach out to Karen and her team at Face2Face Healing. That is the website is the word face, FACE, the numeral 2, FACE healing.org, or you can call 724-935-3580. You can email the team at info@face2facehealing.org. And again, that is the numeral 2. I'm sure that Karen would be happy to help anyone with this. I think that, Karen, it bears repeating that your organization is a nonprofit organization and you do rely on donations and grant funding. So if
Correct.
there's someone out there that's hearing this that has the ability to either connect Karen with an organization that can provide a grant or someone that has the ability to give a donation, by all means do reach out. And kind of as we wind things up, Karen, what do you want people to know about dealing with this, about what face-to-face healing can do for them? What would you want people to know?
I think the most important thing is that they're not alone going through this, and that they don't have to like hide, and they don't have to feel isolated. And I know many people, like I was doing that for like almost a year and a half, and I don't want other people doing that. I want them to know, life life is an instance, they're instances, and it's not just because you're going through it today doesn't mean it's going to be like this, 6 months from now or a year from now. Life does get better, and there's steps we can help you through to get to the other side, so to speak. But it's very challenging, and I hate that if you're an individual listening to this that is diagnosed with cancer, or a loved one who actually knows somebody with cancer, or a condition that has caused unaltered self-image. I hate this that you have to deal with this because it's very difficult. But know that, there are things out there, there's support out there to help you through this. And that's, I think, the main first important thing I want people to know. And that you're more than your face, you're more than your scars. So, I look at my scars as, something that's actually helped me navigate and move forward and realize that, hey, these scars are my survivor scars, right? So I survived this, and, and I wear them proudly. It's not something I want to hide because, if you're hiding that, you're really hiding your true self. So, it's like stepping into it. And I think that's the thing. It took me a long, long time to realize is that, it's not easy moving forward, being different or having a different face. Um, but, but you're so much more than your face. You're so much more than your scars. So, just realize, embrace that, because your inside, your heart is there. And I think when people go through a catastrophic event, they're more compassionate, they're more understanding. So, it's amazing to connect with people, and I love the ability to share my story to help others and realize, and a simple thank you to me just means so much, because knowing that I did something, like when I was dropping off the gifts to the cancer patients, and many of us are so proud because, we don't want to accept charity.
Right.
And I know I was that way. I did not want charity, even being a nurse, I'm like, I don't want help, but I needed help. So it's sometimes, swallowing that pride a little bit and realizing that you have to reach out for help because otherwise you're going to be struggling on your own. So what's the point of that? So, if you reach out for help, you can actually get it. So
So
don't,
true.
yeah, don't do it on, try doing it on your own. And I also look at if you're doing the same thing and getting the same result, and if you continue to think you're going to do something, the same thing and get a different result, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So, do something different. Don't think that, if you're going to counseling, and that's great, and I'm happy that you're doing that. But if they're not meeting your needs, reach out to us. And I think the other thing is our services are free, and we do depend on, funding from grants and foundations, and we're hoping to make some connections with some um, with oh my goodness,
Um,
businesses.
I'm
Yeah,
sure you're going to be connected with donors and philanthropists at
yeah,
this point.
yeah.
And before we cut things off, I do want to just know, when is the best time, or when in this process would one make a referral to face-to-face?
I prefer the referral as early as possible, like when you first get the diagnosis. And it's very difficult, I know, when you get a diagnosis, because all these things are swinging in your head, right? And we collaborate with the physicians, we collaborate with the social workers, so we collaborate with your medical team, and we use HIPAA. We make sure that it's very privacy is very something that's essential for us. So we make sure that you're protected, but we reach out to them and we work with you and navigate through this. So I'd rather it be in the very beginning, but you can be a beginning and the middle towards the end. So it doesn't really matter when in the process. It's just when you hear about us and just reach out and then we can help you. And if I can't help you, I connect you with someone who actually can. So
Absolutely. And I think that's important too, to recognize that there's a network behind this and there is support out there for whatever you need. And it's not just anything that has resulted in an altered self-image, but anyone that is dealing with receiving a cancer diagnosis. As we know, Karen, you've been there, so it's never too early. It's never too late.
right.
Reach out. I can't thank you enough for sharing your personal story, but also for sharing what a resource face-to-face healing can be. Because I do this as a resource for the disability community, but what you're talking about right now are people that were not considered disabled yesterday. And today they have that cancer diagnosis, and that is disabling in so many ways, like you talked about. So I'm hopeful that by doing this, we have shared a real resource for folks that need it.
Thank you, Christine. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. And I am very blessed to be able to know you and be able to support. We can support one another through, with all the resources. So thank you again.
Thank you for that. I think that, there's a reason we're put together to get the word out for all of these things. And I appreciate you being part of this. And I want to thank everyone who joined us today, but especially Karen Scuilli for sharing this wonderful information for the people that need it.